Thank you. Lord, I thank you. Jesus, I love you. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here today. So, Lord, I thank you. So if you could bear with me, I'm going to run through a lot of thank yous because unfortunately, or fortunately, I played for 5 teams. It's not like I wanted to leave one, but I had to. So I got a lot of thank yous. Coach C, Coach David Helen Capel. Coach Capel suffered a massive heart attack, and his excitement to get here was so vital in who I am, what I am, and where I am today. Coach Ron Hoover, my high school coach, for kicking me off the team my junior year, although I'm the starting quarterback. That taught me a valuable lesson, but to this day, I still wasn't insubordinate in that cafeteria. I promise you I wasn't. I don't know what that lady was talking about. Coach Bobby Bowden, the best college football coach ever. Jimmy and Donna Calloway, I love you because you love me like I'm your own. Mickey and Diane Andrews, my defensive back coach at Florida State. Coach Andrews, where are you? You taught me everything. I love you. The 2 things that you taught me, I could be 2 persons at the same time. You would yell at us, scream at us. Then by the time we get in the cafeteria, how's the family? How's everything going? And you blessed me. Also, you made me the punt returner that I am. Because you remember that drill that you had, that you laid this mat out on the field and the punter would kick and everybody had to come and lay out and dive and try to block the punt. And I don't even dive in pools. I don't even do that. But the guy before me, right before me, dove and the kicker kicked him and split his jaw wide open. And I said, Coach, I'll go back there and return these punts. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be that punt returner. Special people, Jason Phillips, who's the offensive coordinator at University of Houston, but when we went at it against each other in Atlanta on the scout team, he didn't have Sundays to play. He had Wednesdays and Thursdays, and he went at my butt. We had a battle every day, and I love you, Jay Field, for that. The Snoop D-O-double-G. Thank you for coming, my man. Q, where you at? Cube, I've been loving you since the early 90s, baby. Thank you. Jerry Jones taught me so much about family, taught me so much about business, taught me a lot about life. Do you understand this is the Hall of Fame? I grew up on some of you guys. I couldn't wait to just get a glimpse of that television and some of you guys to play against the Marinos, to play against the Montanas. Troy Aikman, man, Emmitt Smith, Mike Irvin, are you kidding me? Jerry Rice, Steve Young I got to play with. This game taught me how to be a man. This game taught me if I get knocked down, I got to get my butt back up again. This game taught me that some things in life you can't do too prematurely. In football, they call it offsides, and life is just life. Throughout this game, I've lost some people, but throughout this game, I've gained 5 wonderful, beautiful kids. Deandra, Deion Jr., Shiloh, Shador, Shalimai, with all my team's jerseys on. I love you. Thank you, babies. This game, I appreciate this game so much because I thought about it as a child. I wanted to do it, and they told me that we would get compensated and paid for a game that I always love. And I hear so many people say, I would do this for free. I would too, as long as you're doing it for free. So I admire this game. I like this game. It taught me how to be a man. It taught me how to get up. It taught me how to live and play with pain. This game taught me so much about people. It taught me so much about timing. It taught me so much about focus, dedication, submitting oneself, and sacrifices. This game. And I went at this game and I attacked this game because I made a promise that I needed this game to fulfill.
And I said, Mama, because I was tired of seeing her go to work and come home all tired. I said, I'm going to be rich one day. Mama, I'm going to make a lot of money. And you will never have to work another day of your life. My mama say, that's fine, but until then, you get that lawnmower and go out there and cut that grass. It's something inside of me, Mama, that I never told you, that I never could admit, and I'm going to share it with all of you because now we're family. I played for a youth team called the Fort Myers Rebels, and they blessed me. They took me all over the country to play and expose me to things, expose you to things. And everybody on their team, their parents owned something, and their parents were doctors or lawyers or the chief of police. It was that type of organization. Me and one of my friends were the only African-American kids that was on that team, and it was a very affluent team, and I was ashamed of my mama. Because my mama worked in the hospital. She cleaned up the hospital. She pushed the cart. And I was ashamed of my mama who sacrificed, who loved me, who protected me, who gave me everything I want to make sure I was best dressed in school. And I had everything that was late that came out. I had it first. I was ashamed of my mama. Because one of my friends in high school, he saw her in a hospital one night pushing a cart, and he came back and he clowned me. He ridiculed me and he mocked me because of my mama. So I made a pledge to myself that I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it may take. I'm not going to do anything illegal. But my mama would never have to work another day of her life. I created this image, this thing that you could imagine. You could love him or hate him, but he was pride. I would pre-rehearse the quotes. I would pre-rehearse the sayings because I knew I had the substance. I knew I had the goods. I knew I had the work ethic. But I needed to secure myself enough that my mama would never have to work another day of her life. So throughout my whole career, I understood there were going to be stones. Because when you make it a difference, it's going to be haters. When you're provoking change, it's going to be naysayers. People don't condone what they've never seen. And some of the stuff I tried to do, they had never seen. But when you talked about me, media, guess what? Behind you, I saw my mama. When you wrote about me, when you naysayed me, when you criticized me, I saw right through your papers, right through your TV, and I saw my mama. When you told me what I couldn't do, when you told me what I didn't do, when you told me what I would never be, I saw my mama pushing that cart. When you told me I was too small, I wasn't educated enough, I saw my mama. I don't know if you figured it out by now, but I just gave you prime. I just gave you the formula in who is really standing before you. Because I was trick-or-treating, and it wasn't even Halloween. Because all the things you really thought I was, and some of the things you didn't like, you didn't love, you didn't want to accept, I was doing it for my mama. I will leave you with this. Hall of Famers, I am so privileged and so thankful to be amongst you. I thank you. I love you. Hall of Fame, I tell you what, I don't know what's going on in the other tents, but Snoop, Nelly, Cube, you're going to do something. We about to go tear this thing up. I appreciate you. I got one final thing, because I like him, but something's missing. Thank you, and God bless.
This is 101 ESPN from the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Brought to you by Shop and Save.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Marshall Faulk for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Rocky Arsenal.
Boy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you a very humble and grateful guy. And before I go any further, I want you to know that I am a football fan, just like all of you. I have always been a fan and had an abiding passion and love and respect for this game of football. Even when I was a kid selling popcorn in a Superdome because I couldn't afford a ticket to watch the New Orleans Saints. People had bags over their heads then. I wanted to see football. I idolized this game so much. I idolized the professional football player. I actually felt that one day that life could be mine. And when that opportunity did come, I took it and literally ran with it. And now to be standing before you, actually going into the Hall of Fame with this class of athletes, it is a fulfillment of a life's dream. To play this game of football is all I ever wanted to do. But there wasn't a person that I mimicked my game after. There was many a guys that I wanted to be like. They didn't simply compel me to be the best running back that I could be, or nor did I push myself to be the best running back that I could be. Rather, I drove myself to be the best football player that I could be. And that has always been my goal, to be the very best football player that I can be. I pushed myself more than perhaps anyone thought I could, because that was the standard that I set for myself. That was my commitment to the game, to myself, because I hold such a deep respect for this game. In all humility, I could never give it less than my very best at all times. And because of this, perhaps somewhere down the line, another athlete will be standing here because how I played the game motivated them to be their very best. So tonight, I dedicate this moment and express my gratitude to those who have inspired me, guided me, and cared for me as I worked diligently to be the very best that I could be. See, this story is deep. I'm from the Ninth Ward. That's the Desire Projects in New Orleans, Louisiana. Many don't make it out of there. And even though there were drugs and violence, I never wanted to take drugs or die young. Instead, I channeled every ounce of energy that I had into sports. I have to give a sincere thanks to the guy who drafted Richard Dent. Bill Tobin is the guy who drafted me. Bill, I know you're still here. Thank you. And to Jim Irsay and the Irsay family. When you take a kid that's 21 and you draft him second overall, we know you're taking a gamble. Thanks for taking that gamble on me. I hope it paid off. Spent 5 years with the Colts. The fans there, they were wonderful. The city was a terrific place to start my career. But coming from sunny San Diego to Indianapolis, I had a lot to learn. Those snow days that I thought snow days meant stay home from practice. You guys know when you get that call and you think snow means stay home because you've never been in snow. That's what it was like for me. You welcomed me, you accepted me, you supported me on and off the field. My teammates and I, we enjoyed playing in Indianapolis. Win or lose, you guys were there. I enjoyed Indianapolis because it laid the groundwork for the player that I was going to evolve into. Unfortunately, sometimes you move on, and my time was up in Indianapolis after 5 years. And at the end of my time there, it was kind of unclear where I was going to go. But the St. Louis Rams, they had an idea. They acquired me in a trade, and with that trade brought forth the birth of the greatest show on turf. Ram fans, I considered you guys what Nelly called his crew, the St. Lunatics, because you were there for us. It was so much fun to play with a group of men who didn't care who won the most accolades. All they wanted to do was win. We were the definition of a team. To every player that put on a Rams uniform from '99 to 2005, thank you. Every guy that blocked for me, Big O. Adam Timberman. Touchdown Tommy Newton, because every time you scored, Tommy was there to help you up. Robert Holcomb, James Hodges, the strongest man I know, Ernie Conwell, Bloody Knuckles himself, Roland Williams. To you guys, because you really don't get noticed for the work that you do, thank you for all your blood, sweat, and tears. It was a pleasure. To my skilled guys, where individual accomplishments meant nothing. Isaac Bruce, what a pleasure to watch you play. Torrey Holt, what a professional. Ricky Prohl. I have to say this. In 1998, Ricky Prohl led the Rams in receptions and touchdowns. In '99, the Super Bowl season, Ricky Prohl caught one touchdown, and the whole year you didn't hear about that touchdown because that touchdown was in an NFC Championship game. Never wavered, never complained, never said anything. No one was above that team. No one. I believe that our greatest strength was that we believed in the team more than our individual accomplishments. I will give anything right now to be in the huddle 1 minute, 80 yards, down by 6, with the greatest show on turf. Because that's when we were at our best, with our backs against the wall. And leaving, true to life, as it is to me, God gave me talent, football gave me an opportunity. I made the commitment. Thank you all.
My big brother Sterling. I'm the only player of 267 men that's walked through this building to my left that can honestly say this. I'm the only pro football player that's in the Hall of Fame, and I'm the second best player in my own family. If fate had dealt you a different hand, there's no question, there's absolutely no question in my mind, we would have been the first brothers to be elected to the Hall of Fame. The 44 men and women that I thanked and congratulated earlier for giving me and bestowing this prestigious honor upon me, all I do is ask. All I can do is ask in the most humblest way I know how, is that the next time you go into that room or you start making a list, look at Shannon Sharpe's accomplishments for a 7-year period of the guys that's in the Hall of Fame at the receiver position and the guys that have the potential to be in this building. That's all I ask. I don't say, hey, just do that. The next time you go in that room, think about Shannon Sharpe's number for 7 years. That's all I ask. Sterling, you're my hero, my father figure, my role model. You taught me everything I know about sports and a lot about life. I never once lived in your shadows. I embraced it. I think this is where I start to get emotional. My granny. See, the guy that did this bust here, he went to school for that. He's trained to bring clay to life with his hands. It's my turn to bring Mary Porter to life with my voice. It's time for me to give Mary Porter a face. For all those that don't know who she is, it's my turn now. What do you say about a person that gives you everything but life? How do you start to say thank you, Granny, for a woman that raises 9 of her kids and your mom's 3, and she sacrificed more for her grands than she did her own? You see, my grandmother was a very simple woman. She didn't want a whole lot. My grandmother wanted to go to church and Sunday school every Sunday. She wanted to be in Bible study every Wednesday. And the other days she wanted to be on a fishing creek. It was my brothers and our job to make sure she can do that for the remaining days of her life. The only regret that I have in my 43 years that I never told my grandmother just how much she mean to me. See, my grandmother and grandfather, they raised me, and I hung on everything they say, but they didn't know it. I can tell you every time that my grandmother's ever been upset at me, I can tell you why. My brother never knew that everything he said, that I hung on it. I wanted to be so much like my brother that when I went to college, my brother's first college girlfriend. When I went to college, my first college girlfriend looked exactly like his. And the one story I want to leave you with to tell you why I became this person. When I was 12 years old, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to have some money one day, and I'm going to buy you a Mercedes, and I did. When I came and I asked my grandmother, I said, Granny, what do you want? She always called me her baby. She never called me by my name. I said, you want me to buy you a car and teach you how to drive? She said, no, son, I don't want that. I said, Granny, do you want jewelry? She said, no, son, I don't want that. She said, son, I want a decent house. And I'm thinking, I said, well, my grandmother wants 7,000 to 8,000 square feet. But then I know my grandmother, knowing her like I know her, after pausing for 5 or 6 minutes, I said, Granny, what is a decent home? And I remember it like yesterday, and it was 30 plus years ago. She said, son, I want a decent home. And her words verbatim is, she said, son, I want to go to bed one night. And she said, I want God to let it rain as hard as he possibly can. And I want him to let it rain all night long. And she said, I want to wake up and not be wet. That's a decent home for my grandmother. That's all she wanted. See, for 66 years, my grandmother never went to bed and have it rain and not be wet the next morning. See, I remember those days of putting the plastic coats on the bed. And I'm going to date myself, the croaker sacks, but now we call them burlap bags. I remember that. I remember putting the pots and pans on the floor to catch the rainwater, the very pots and pans that we're going to cook in the next day. I remember that. It broke my heart that my grandmother, all she wanted, she got 2 grandboys that's making $1 million, and she wanted a house that wouldn't leak. That's all she wanted. That's all my grandmother wanted. For 2 boys that's making millions, and all you want is a decent house, you want to go to bed and not get wet when you wake up. That's what drove Shannon. That's what got me here. See, my grandmother, if you give your man a word, you give a man your word, you do what you say you're going to do. See, when my grandfather died, I missed one day. I missed the day of the funeral. My grandmother didn't believe in that. If you promise somebody you're going to do something, you do it. And as my grandmother was laying in that casket on Saturday morning, I walked over to her and I asked her 2 things. I said, Granny, am I the man you thought I would be when you got on the train and you came to Chicago and got me at 3 months? Am I the man you thought I would be? And I stood there for about 20 seconds, and I could see her smiling. And then I asked her, are you proud? I said, Granny, are you proud of your baby? Because everything I've done in my life, I've tried to please you. I know my grandmother's proud. I know my family's proud. This day means so much to me because I get to share it